Capital Views is sponsored by Northrim Bank, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, ConocoPhillips, and Linden.
Hi, I'm Tim Bradner with Alaska Legislative Digest, and thank you for joining us with Capital Views. And today, a special welcome to Lon Garrison, Executive Director of the Alaska Association of School Boards. Welcome, Lon. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's good to be back with you, Tim. Appreciate it.
I think a quick refresher is in order of what does the School Board Association do?
Sure. Well, we are a member association, so we represent or have as members 52 of the 53 school districts in the state of Alaska. The only one who unfortunately is not a member at the moment is the Mat-Su. But they all belong as members of our association. The association was established in 1954, so we've been around prior to statehood, and we've been doing our work supporting school boards across the state, for 72 years now, which is hard to believe. But we really focus, our primary focus has been on helping boards understand their role in governance, local governance, and governing a school district. And what does that mean? Working with the administration to carry out what's required in public education, and then locally reflect that in terms of what do they do with their own school system? How do they make certain that that happens? And how do they establish policies and then adopt and set a budget to make public education effective in their school district?
Well, there's a full plate of issues that comes with that, and it's gotten more. Things have gotten more complicated these days. We no longer have just the old traditional brick and mortar schools. We have charter schools that are governed by school districts. We have independent study within the context of the school districts. Maybe could you just touch on sort of how that all ties together and what the school board's role is in those things?
Absolutely. It is much more complex than it was, even 20 or 30 years ago. You mentioned that we have a number of different options. One of the major public school choice options has been charter schools, which have been around for quite some time. Alaska has 30 charter schools. I think it's 30, might be 31 now. I know there were a couple of charter schools getting ready to come online. But those charter schools exist within a local school district. So a charter school is formed. They come up with a model of how they want to operate, and they apply to the school board of the school district, and that school board has the authority to review and approve or disapprove of that application. It's complicated. It takes a long time. You're building a school, so there's a lot of ground to cover. And so working with the local school district and with the local board, then those charter schools have come into being. And they are self-governed to the extent that they govern what happens within the educational program, and they hire the principal. But they are a part of the school district, so they still have to follow, school district regulations and those kinds of things. If their staff are members of bargaining units, they're a member of those bargaining units. So they're not a completely separate entity, but the governing board has authority over how the funds are spent at the school. They hire the principal, and then the principal hires the staff. So that's one option. And it's been a very successful one for the most part. And charter schools do as well as most public neighborhood schools. Some do a little bit better, and some do a little bit worse than the average school. So they're not immune to the same vagaries that affect really all public schools. The other piece that's unique in Alaska, I think, is the role of correspondence schools in educating students across the state. And that has really grown significantly since the COVID pandemic, knowing that, a lot of parents pulled their students out and entered into the correspondence programs. Sometimes that's confused with homeschooling. It can be. Homeschooling is actually kind of it's a separate issue, and a homeschool student can be enrolled in a statewide correspondence program, which is offered by a number of different districts, or a local district correspondence program, or a homeschool student could just be a homeschool student and just be independently educated. They're not part of the public education system.
And Lon,
But yeah,
if I could get a question there, in truly homeschool studies, the parents, they're responsible for buying all the materials and doing their own thing with curriculum and everything. It has nothing to do
correct.
with local school.
Correct. And that's still that still can occur. So parents can make that decision. Initially, when the correspondence school program began back in 1939, it was a centralized program through the state of Alaska, or the territory at that time. And it was really focused at providing the opportunity for a public education through correspondence. And ultimately, it was also a way for the state, the new state, to provide public education as part of its constitutional requirement. So in the interim, it has kind of morphed from a constitutional fulfillment of public education for those who couldn't attend a neighborhood school to more of a school choice issue. And that's what we see today. So those correspondence programs account for a little over 23,000 students within, about 126,000 students across the state. So, it's roughly 18 or 19% of the population right now utilize correspondence programs.
Lon, just one quick question. As I understand it, correspondence students are not required to take or I guess they're required to take the annual assessment test, but they can opt out. And is that understanding correct? And do you have any sense of how many students opt out?
Yes. So any student can opt out of the test. So parental rights, a bill that talks about parental rights for education, says that students can opt out. Parents can opt out to have their students take those tests. We see that in regular brick and mortar neighborhood schools, there's not that much that occurs in terms of those students opting out of those federally mandated tests. They're supposed to have upwards of 95% participation. I think in neighborhood brick and mortar schools, we see around 80% participation is the figure I remember seeing. For correspondence schools, in 2014, there was legislation that really strengthened and kind of indemnified this opt-out provision. And so correspondence school students dropped dramatically in terms of opting out for summative assessments that were given. And so now we see somewhere around only 15% of those students that actually take those year-end exams. So it's significantly different.
Yes, and what this means really is that we have no way of really knowing how well those students are doing.
Yes, I mean it's pretty shaky data when you look at trying to measure a population of performance on such a small percentage. It's pretty tough to do. So
Yeah.
Mike Bronson, who has done work with the NAACP on education issues, has some great information and great data about that.
Good. And Mike is with Refresh. Who is Mike?
He has done work with the NAACP for Alaska. Yeah.
I think I've seen Mike testify in various committee hearings.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about. We will have to continue this discussion and look forward to that, Lon. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you're most welcome. It's hard to get very far into education issues because they're complicated and a lot of them, but we'll do it again,
Well,
Tim. I would look forward to it.
Well, it's something people care a lot about. So anyway, thank you very much, Lon.
You're most welcome. Take care.